A new patch notes has dropped this afternoon, and wow, there are some big changes. Clerks might even be useful in the new update for Stellaris. Let's jump in and have a look. Starting at the beginning, these are changes that they are going to push soon to the beta branch, which is the test branch 3.0.3. They're not quite on the test branch yet. If you're signed up to the beta, you won't have access to these changes, but they're going to push them in very soon. So that means that these are brand new. No one's actually tried them out before. Let's dive in and see what we are dealing with. So the first thing, they are acknowledging that there are too many jobs in the game, which is something that I think we can all agree there are too many clerk jobs rattling around. And they're going to do something very interesting. They're going to double the trade value of a clerk to 4. That means a clerk's now going to be producing 2 amenities and 4 trade value. If you're converting that directly to energy, that's 4 energy and 2 amenities. Amenities, if we're going to peg them at 1 energy each, that means that a clerk is in theory equal to a technician without any modifiers. Now I accept the fact that the modifiers are much easier to get for technician jobs and minor jobs, so we're not completely overhauling how great clerks are here, but this now means that clerks in some way are comparable to other worker type jobs. This is a big change. This is fundamentally different to what we've seen before. They are also reducing the number of clerk jobs produced by buildings by 40%, they're saying. So that means in a regular commercial zone, we're going to go from 5 jobs down to 3, as you can see here in the notes. That's going to be big. That's going to really, I don't think in the mid game that's going to change how you're dealing with clerks, because clerks are still going to be pretty useless. I imagine that given you can't get technologies that give you bonuses to your output for your clerks, whereas for mining, food, agriculture, and minerals, you can get plus 20% bonuses, stackable bonuses. Whereas you've got some civics that increase your trade value, you've got some traits that increase your trade value, and on top of that, you've got some ethics that increase your trade value. But that's not quite the same as the technology bonuses. So maybe early on clerks will be quite useful, but later on not so useful. We're going to have to see as they roll this in how it exactly is going to work. Now the next big change is going to be to our resource buildings. So those are the energy grid and mineral purification plants, as well as the food processing centers. At the moment, they provide a percentage bonus to the amount of food produced, as well as increasing the number of jobs, and in some cases increasing the number of jobs per district. Now they're not going to do that. So these processing centers, at the moment, they're really good. You're going to build up a mineral world, you've got 5 districts down, you throw down the mineral purification plant, you upgrade it. Those 5 districts, instead of producing 10 jobs, they're now producing 17 jobs with the building, as well as getting a 25% bonus to your output. Now, instead of that, the building will produce an additional job, or 2 if you upgrade it to the next level, and will also increase the output, the base output, by 1 or 2. Now, in some ways, that's really, really good, because that means that depending on your technology, that's going to be scaled. So let's say you've got all 3 of the add 20% bonuses to your food production, and you increase the base food production by 2. That's actually going to be, rather than increasing it by 20%, you're going to be getting an increase of an extra 1.2 from these technologies, rather than getting no interaction there. So that's definitely quite good. That's a good thing. However, the loss of jobs is going to really hamper and limit the effectiveness of these buildings. However, the reason they've claimed to do this is because they're trying to reduce the overall number of jobs in your empire, because what they're trying to really push here is the idea that lower pops is good, and that we can do the same with fewer pops as we used to do, which it's an interesting idea, and there's definitely, they're on the way there with some of the rebalancing they've done with 3.0 and 3.0.2, but they're not there yet for sure, as you can see, because many people are complaining about the population mechanics and the numbers of pops. So that's something they're trying to redo. On top of that, the manufacturing focused buildings, that's your factories and foundries that produce alloys and consumer goods, well, what are they doing now? They're not going to be adding additional jobs to the districts. In addition, on non-Ecumenopolis worlds, you're going to be able to build both of them again. So they've scaled it back. They're now going to say, yep, you can build an alloy building and a consumer goods building on the same planet. Fine. Okay. But what are they going to do instead of providing more jobs? Well, they're going to provide base jobs from the building, but they won't provide jobs dependent on the number of districts you have. Instead, they're going to increase your alloy output by 1 or increase your consumer goods output by 1 or 2 depending on the level of the building. That's actually really good. That means on an Ecumenopolis, you will need to build more districts, absolutely, to get access to the same number of alloy jobs as before, but it means your pops will be producing more resources for a fewer number of pops. In my opinion, that's good. You know, reducing the number of pops we have will reduce pop management. I think that's actually a good balance change. They're claiming to do some AI updates. We'll have to see. And now the big one. Population growth is changing. They are going to be, so you've probably already seen my video on how population growth works now in the new 3.0. If you haven't, there's a link down in the description. You can go check it out. But they're now going to give us control over some of the fundamental constants. So you'll be able to set the logistic growth ceiling. At the moment, that ceiling is set to 2 times, meaning the maximum logistic growth you can get is 6 plus 6 per month before you get any modifiers, percentage modifiers. They're also going to set the growth scaling to be a variable. You can set that as a variable. At the moment, that's set to plus 0.5 per pops. You can multiply that up and down. On the screen, you can see here they've got an example 1.5 and 0.25. They're also saying that by lowering the growth required scaling, you should also lower the logistic growth ceiling. Otherwise, you're going to have performance issues from too many pops. Whilst this won't mean you can go back to the old version of Stellaris where we had just linear growth every month, we'd be getting our +3, because this is just the ceiling of that logistic growth, meaning at the bottom end of it you'll still have some big negative modifiers if you're at your planet capacity or very close to it. But what it will mean is that we can change it. Those of you that have been annoyed about saying we're not having enough pops, now you're going to be able to reduce this growth scaling. Just scroll it back down. You won't even need a mod. At the moment, you can get some mods. You can go in and edit it in the game files yourself. Now there's going to be a slider. And I think that's a really good and fair change, because that means for those of us who actually like the new pop growth mechanic, and some people do, some of us really do like the new pop growth mechanic, you can keep it as is. And for those of you, and there are many, who hate the new pop growth mechanic, you can basically do away with a large aspect of it. And so that's really quite interesting. We're going to have to see how these changes play out in the beta, but otherwise that's all from these patch notes. And that wraps up this developer diary. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you've got any feedback, please leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe. In addition, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, there's a link down below in the description.